Hello and welcome to The Information, where you'll get all the information on the latest in electronic, indie pop, and experimental music. Today we have an album review. We're reviewing the new Mr. Twin Sister record, Salt. For those unfamiliar, Mr. Twin Sister, formerly known as Twin Sister, are a New York-based band. They have been going at it since about the late 2000s, early 2010s. At that time, they were lumped into the same or similar category as a lot of chillwave and dream pop bands. The most notable element of the band was and still is the distinctive vocal stylings of singer Andrea Estella. Her eclectic and deliberate overpronunciations do give a lot of their songs a very idiosyncratic sound. You can always tell if it's a Mr. Twin Sister song the second her vocals come in. They are just that unique. However, despite the band's success in the aforementioned dream pop and indie pop spheres, they have not been a band that has been particularly prolific. This new record here, Salt, is only the second full-length the band has released since 2011, and their first since their self-titled back in 2014. 2014's self-titled was, in many respects, a rebranding for the group. This was the first album they released under the new name Mr. Twin Sister, and the new sound that they presented on this album was much more slick, much more refined. It had a rounder edge to it, but it was also more dancey and outright electronic in many aspects. The vibes varied from fun, disco-inspired party anthems like In the House of Yes and Out of the Dark, to moodier, more introspective tunes like the Sade-inspired Blush and the long-form intro Sensitive, as well as the intense and atmospheric 6.5-minute track 12 Angels. Not only is pretty much each track here its own genre, but within each track there can be multiple genres that it spans across the runtime. Case in point, the finale, the 8-minute runtime of the track Set Me Free, does cover a lot of sonic ground, even if the general vibe of the track stays about the same. Within the moody confines of this track, we find elements of R&B, more Sade, some reggae, some honest-to-goodness reggae exists in here, and it's all done very well. There are some elements of dark ambient music and a sax solo towards the back end of the track as well. In the intro track here especially, Keep On Mixing serves as a nice intro with some very strong electronics here and a very up-tempo beat. There are plenty of scattered, skittering electronic drums here and a very nervous, tense rhythm. I also like the inclusion of the bongos in the last 40 seconds of the track. There's a layer of warm distortion over them as well, which creates a very interesting texture. And lyrically here, Andrea talks at length about sort of the state of the world, the state of America, and politics in particular. There are several lines here where she mentions things like, "Wish we could jump ahead, how backwards we have come." She says it's hard when all sides think they're right, and history loves to repeat. She asks herself, how did it get so bad? How did such ugliness stir up? And ultimately the message of the song, and the title of the song as well, comes towards the end where she says, "So just keep on mixing, mix all people, soon enough and we'll all belong." The second track here, Alien FM, is sort of the blush of the Mr. Twin Sister self-titled record. You get some very warm, jazzy piano vibes. Overall, I would say this has a very swirling, smoky atmosphere. You definitely get that like jazz lounge vibe for sure. I love the sensual sax solo towards the end of the track here, and Estella's vocals really shine on this track as well. Lyrically here, the title of the song, Alien FM, refers to the kind of static that she gets from her significant other in their relationship. He's finding it hard to communicate, and there are lyrics towards the end of the track where she says, "I can never tell just what you're always thinking of, but it's not me. Repeatedly you're calling from a train or some other place." So he's never around, and he's never giving her the time of day or reaching out to see how she is. The next track here, Koh-I-Noor, is the first and, in my opinion, real only misstep of the record. Just front to back here, this really has not ever been a song that I've been able to sit through completely. The meandering, borderline, aimless electric piano in the background kind of doesn't really go anywhere or do anything. I can't say too much either about the overly processed, stuttering R&B beat here, especially with the totally crispy, like crunchified snaps. And the final dagger in this song for me is the unnecessary, and I mean completely unnecessary, auto-tune of Andrea's vocals on this song. She is definitely a unique and expressive enough singer that she does not need auto-tune. The next two tracks here do kind of signal somewhat of a return to their earlier sound as Twin Sister, the first being Bye to Return. which has a fun loungy intro which quickly gives away to a more sinister organ melody and some percussive bongo-led beats. Generally speaking, it's one of the more organic and live band songs. There are some bright chirping synth leads that dot the song here as well. And I know I'm sure that's not how the lyrics were intended to come across, but I do find the lyrics a little bit funny just about how it concerns somebody who impulsively buys clothes just so they can get the rush, I guess, of returning them to the store, especially with the description of lines like line after line, never needing reasons, line after line, any time of day, next is your turn, no need for policy signs. In the next track here, Tops and Bottoms kind of finishes the very short 1-2 song clothing arc here, I guess. There's a very funky chugging bass line throughout the song, and I like the sharp sound effects that dart across the channels. This is definitely one of the more disco-leaning tracks. I hear some striking strings, some very nice electric piano, and some cool punchy drums. There's another fun energy to this song as well, especially where the pitch-down vocal effects come in. Lyrically, I'm not sure if this refers to the same character in the previous song, but it definitely does bring some parallels to mind for me. Lyrics like, tangled in my garments, run out of space, will I ever get to wear all of this, do I even like any of it? Thematically, the song does dig a little bit deeper as well towards the end of the track, where Andrea talks about, I never looked the way I pictured, wish I could wear what I want to wear, what fits a stick with a belly, and also the lines during the chorus where she mentions, I end up wearing the same old tops and bottoms, there are some men I don't want looking at my parts. So it is kind of sad and unfortunate that, you know, in this day and age that Andrea's wardrobe choices day to day are affected by, does she want men to be ogling her in some creepy way. The next track, Deseo, is an odd one in the sense that it is entirely sung in Spanish for some reason. I'm not sure if Andrea's heritage is part Hispanic or something like that, or if it was just another strange artistic choice, but I do know that the song title translates to I wish or I want. Lyrically here, it was tougher for me to parse out any sort of bigger meaning or understanding of what the song was trying to say. There's really not much more here except a pumping kick drum, which kind of feels like a heartbeat almost, and there's some bubbling electronics as well that kind of simmer to the surface occasionally. This all sits over top of a bed of some distant synth drone, and I feel like in general this song could have been cut down a little bit, especially in the middle section where the song just kind of coasts along on its moody atmospherics. I feel like there's not a whole lot as far as progression or anything interesting that the song says or adds. The song Taste in Movies is another funky number with some lively drum patterns, some spicy horns, and more loungy electric piano. On this song it seems like Andrea is talking about a bad date that she's experiencing, where the date is telling her that porn is poisonous and that it dulls her pure desire, and during the chorus she goes on to mention that you don't know me or my taste in movies. The nimble extended sax solo on the last leg of the track is fantastic as well, and if anything, the only thing that I would maybe nitpick on this song is the weird interruption of this desert rock guitar passage that kind of shows up within the first minute here and then just kind of goes away and you don't hear it again for the rest of the song. It just kind of breaks up the fun vibe of the track and I'm not really sure why it's there. Next up, I love the urgent disco groove of Jaipur. I apologize for my whiteness for presumably not pronouncing that correctly. This song here is another one where Andrea's vocals are a definite standout. They're very wild and loose, and I love the strange driving tension of the song, and that tension is coupled by the equally anxious lyrics concerned with not feeling emotionally ready to jump into a relationship despite maybe having those feelings there and feeling ready to do so. This is amplified in the lyrics where Andrea sings, "It's not that I want for love, it's that I need to love. I'm losing my mind searching for you, and even if I found you, what would I do?" I also like the production choice towards the end of the track to end the song off by kind of letting all the elements of the song fall to the wayside until you're just hearing this airy sax solo and a final sweeping synth pad that transitions perfectly into the final track, Set Me Free. Like I said earlier in the review, this song is many genres kind of piled into one. The interesting thing to me about this song is that even though the reggae influences tend to come off as the strongest of any of the genres on this track, you don't actually get those right away. It's really only until about a minute, minute and a half in where you get that traditional like kind of dubby bass line where it really starts to come into the picture there. Before that point, all you're really getting is a really dark string pad, and it provides a backbone to Andrea's really hyper clear vocals in this song. They are front and center, and it really allows for very interesting and vivid pictures to be painted by these lyrics here. The energy is very sensual and slinky and almost James Bond-esque, and the aforementioned lyrics are very inquisitive about death and the afterlife especially. Andrea has lines here where she says, "Is there time after death, or does it freeze with my last breath? Is the time till my death here as a test, or is it the only chance I have to beg you to set me free?" We're also treated at the 4-minute mark to another dusky sax solo, and as the song progresses we get more and more spacey, dubby effects on some piano and guitars here. Again, much like the previous atmospheric minimal track Deseo, I do feel like since this song is so long, I feel like there's a good, decent-sized chunk in the middle section here that you could kind of cut out pretty easily, where it's pretty much just, again, coasting on the atmospherics. And ultimately, my thoughts on this record are that I came away pretty darn impressed with this thing. The band's insistence on experimenting with textures, tempos, and vocal deliveries, I think provides the listener with an adventurous experience that definitely never grows stale. On this album, Mr. Twin Sister offers a confident array of songs that are big on spacious atmospheres and small on ill-conceived ideas. And what some of these songs may lack in catchiness and straightforward structure, they make up for in interesting ideas and compelling songwriting. I definitely have to give the band props for boldly doing their own thing, which frankly is making some of the best art pop around. I'm happy that my hype and expectations were met with this record, and I'd have to give it a decent to strong 8. That being said, what did you guys think of this record, Salt by Mr. Twin Sister? Did you have a favorite or least favorite track? Did you enjoy what I had to say, or did you think I was off the mark? Be sure to let me know in the comments, and like, comment, and subscribe if you liked what I had to say and you want to see more. In the meantime, thank you again for watching The Information.